Come on. Up. Hey guys, Mark Farash with Protect Dog Training. I'm mic'd up a little today so you can see me. A little bit of a distance, but I'm going to try to demo a little bit with a quick treat with the puppies, okay? And you're going to see a lot of this again and again and again, and you just try to put two and two together when you're doing this. But obviously I've got the dog conditioned to follow this hand. If you notice, he's right after that hand right away because it's a conditioning put in with consistent repetition, right? So this is Turk. This is a guy that I think is going to be about the best bomb dog we've got, a thinker. And all I'm doing is luring, right? And I've got a clicker, and I'm letting him hear the sound. You guys should be able to hear me pretty well. We're on mic today. So you're going to basically just watch me do this. Good. Yep. Good boy. We call that little yep that you hear me giving an explosion release. It allows him to understand that he's allowed to express himself and to go away and that the exercise is finished. So I set that in right away using the table. Yep. Good boy, and letting him chase, okay? So he gets to use the table, and Chase will do it this other way. So we do a few movements. Notice there's no word yet. We're letting him watch body language, which is fine because that's what we're using when we lure is body language, to be honest with you. If he's following the hand, he's tracking this hand very much so, okay? So we're also pairing the clicker with his reward, meaning that is the right answer, you did the right thing. And we don't need to... This is called flooding, when I do this again and again and again, okay? We're basically pairing this with this to a point where it becomes a very conditioned thing. We don't do it constantly. Every now and then we'll do the flooding. And we'll set that flooding routine in there for a reason. When you learn something new, we might jackpot him, meaning a lot more food. Nope. And you notice me using my other markers, it will become something. Right now they don't mean that much to the animal, okay? Good. Now I'm going to try to catch the duration marker. Good. 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 And notice that consistent time pattern that I'm doing. Nope. Dogs are very cognizant of time, whether you realize it or not. They don't know it's 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but they do have a very semblance of time as far as, if you ever notice when it's food time, they start going crazy. When you're coming home from work, they go crazy. They are very aware of a time spectrum. So we use that all the time. So we're going to go good, and put it between the legs. Good, and there's a 30-second pause, maybe a 15-second pause. And what I'm trying to do is convey the thought to the animal, good. That good means it's going to go to him between his legs. See how he's set up? Good. Good, and now he's waiting. Anticipatory behavior. Notice his anticipatory. Good, nope. Good, and we put in the no, he doesn't understand it, but he will with time. And then we got our explosion release. Yep, good boy. And we want to put this stuff in early on so that you have it to work with. Tools in your toolbox. If you condition this stuff in early, you have the tools you need to do the job to condition the animal. Without them, without the marker words, without this whole thing of following the hand and luring, you don't have much to work with. Remember, wherever the head goes, the body must follow. So if you notice, I'm luring him up, the body must follow. That's why he comes up. If I go down with it, the body must follow. His head's going down, that's why he downs for me. Okay? Yep. Good boy, good. And then we get a little excitement and drive. Good. Oh, yes. Good boy, good. And you notice the yes. That's going to turn in from the clicker to my marker word, okay? Now you hear Mike, he really likes his clickers, and it's important. I use these things for anything new, anything that may be a little bit more confusing for the dog, because it'll be his first baseboard of learning. Good. So I use the clicker, but you'll hear me saying yes, good, and no. No, we don't use with a no command like, how do I explain it to you? No should be a matter-of-fact correction, just done over with. It's matter-of-fact, it's monotone. Nope. And we pick the same monotone sound, just like all your other markers should sound the same way each time, as much as you can. You're doing this and you're learning this on purpose because you don't want to have any emotion in your inflection in your voice. Because when you put in emotion, that may overshadow or overcompensate for what you're trying to teach the dog. That's the reason we use the clicker, by the way. There is no fluctuation of the voice. If I start saying sit, it's another reason for why we don't put in a word early on. Because you're human, and you might say sit one time one way, and then say sit, and then you get frustrated and you say sit. you have that emotion coming from your voice tone, and you don't want that to overshadow the communication. Clarity is reduced when you start to add more things, sounds, movement, things like that. So we keep it down to only the clicker and only what we're doing with the click reward, so that the dog doesn't have that other information coming into his world. It's all about the stimulus. So that's why we do things that way. We also don't add a word, exactly why I just said it, because that's going to have you having an influx that may be different, and frustration will come out of your voice tone. We don't want that to be an added equation. We don't want any more information coming into the dog than we can do it. That's why we only use a clicker when we first start this. Once this is the way I do things, build in my clicker, and I have that ability, it's already been conditioned in, I can use this clicker anytime I want to. That tool is now in my toolbox, okay? Same thing with markers. Yes, no, and good, okay? Good for duration marker. Yes would be equal to this clicker, okay? And that's what it'll turn into. But I do that so that I have more tools in the tool bag. I can bring this clicker out anytime I want to after the dog understands this, okay? So what I look at is when I'm conditioning the animal, I'm adding as many things as I can into my toolbox and into the dog's vocabulary, not words, but vocabulary of things that he understands. Yep. There's a word, there's a movement that he's used to, okay? And then he gets his reward. As many things, example of this, he's got that in his toolbox, right? He understands to move sideways. Now I can progress it once I have it in. So again, we're taking it apart and we're making it as many little pieces as possible, and we're building a house. We're putting together a puzzle, right? So I've got the dog moving and he understands this. Notice how he stops right when I move my body language, which is spatial pressure, okay? That's what they call it. The dogs don't want to be stepped on, so they have a natural tendency to get out of the way. We're using that. We're using our body. See him move? And that's because of the spatial spatial pressure. But I want to get to a point where I start to have the dog do this without that. So now if I have the dog following my hand, look what happens. See him moving without me moving into him? That's the next progression. Okay, and then I slowly but surely keep working that until I can get standing back and I can do it from a hand signal like you see me doing with Rocky. Okay, so this dog now, we want to do rights and lefts, so I'm going to move the other way now. I'm using spatial pressure to get him flowing with it, and then I'll see if I can do it without it. He won't do it. He wants to come off the tube, off of the tub. Yep, and then move from one object to the other. Patterns of 2s and 3s. I'm talking to you guys right now, so because of that, my flow and my center, my concentration, my being in tune with the animal is diminished because I'm talking to you guys. If I'm out here working by myself with no distractions that I have coming in, which is right now talking to you, yep, I will be really in tune with the animal, and I'll get a flow going, and I'll work off of all the things I'm teaching you guys, which is patterns of 2s and 3s, moving from one object to the other, and building slowly on what you want the animal to do. Another thing, notice he's not wanting to down for me right now. Notice that, his butt's up in the air. General rule of thumb, dogs can't be taught it down, and you shouldn't be teaching it down except from a sit or a stand, but not from a... Good, see how he goes down? So in general, the rule is the dog is better served by being in a sit position before you start your down, okay? Yep, good, yep. Good boy. And there's that little sound he's going to get used to hearing. Yep. Good boy. Good. Notice how easy that is to convey the thought to the animal because I have two objects here. So he's getting to express himself with energy. Yep. And that's what we're after. Good boy. Good. Same thing when I do this little spin. Yep. Sure. Good boy. He's getting to express himself with energy. And as I go along and I keep building the dog, I will teach the dog to go somewhere with that energy. So with Rocky, I'll show it to you. I do a little spin and then right back into a heel position. They call that a bridge behavior, and we're taking energy and drive and putting it right back into the work that we want, okay? Notice him going after the hand. Look where my hand's at. Look where his head's at. That's going to turn into a nice little prance. Let's see if I can get him to do it now. See that extension? That extension is caused, let's try it again so you see it. That extension is caused by my gait and by where his head is at, okay? So if I was a horse, you can actually set that gait with how you work. So I can get a dog to prance and look real pretty with that, with how I set the dog's head in my movement, right? Yep. Good. All right, let's go back to our duration marker. Remember patterns 2s and 3s, I've done a lot of things, then I come back to what I was trying to convey to him. We mix things up. The more I do this in patterns of 2s and 3s, the better the dog will become at learning, because I am stretching the dog's mental mindset, his ability, his brain, his synapses. I treat that dog's brain just like it's a muscle of any other part of his body. And I stretch that muscle with how I work. That's my way of doing things. And I stretch it into patterns of 2s and 3s, and I mix up. So the dog never has to knows what's coming, and when the next pattern comes that he's already been doing, he remembers it and he keeps using that pattern of learning, okay? That's all I'm setting up, is how does this dog get conditioned to learn? It makes my dogs stronger because they have a mental capacity to stretch instead of doing things static. Some trainers do things static. They're right in front of a mirror, and I do too. They call it isolation. We isolate that particular thing that we're working on, and we keep them there for a long time, and all we do that one thing. And I do that too. It's isolation, and it works. Yep, but when they're puppies like this, I don't do that. I stretch the mind, and I do patterns of 2s and 3s, and I come back to it. So we're going to go back to our duration marker. Watch how this works. Good. Nope. Good. And all I'm trying to do is convey a thought to him. Good. And I'm trying to set in a time pattern. Good. Nope. He's a young mind, so that young mind's very floaty. Nope. Nope. Good. And if I do it right, good, he will pick up on what I'm trying to convey to him. Nope. Good. He's a little young for this, and I haven't got enough in the toolbox yet. Good. To get him doing it, but you see it. Good. And then right to my explosion release. Yep. Good boy. Good. Okay. So that's how we kind of break it up. I want to give you a little demo. We're slowly but surely getting to the next step in his evolution as far as this this work in luring. Okay. I'm going to start doing a lot more heeling at my side and expecting a little more out of the dog. Plus I've got to work these guys into a leash, into a collar, which means they got to learn to give to pressure, just like a horse would be learning to give to a bit. Good. You see how I did that? Good. Yep. Good boy. All right, let's go. And I'll go back to my bowls. We'll come back to that. And I'll try to end it on that thought process, the main thing I'm thinking. I'll explain this to you on the whiteboard one day, and how I do this as far as my patterns. Good. Good. Up. I'm giving good instead of just a quick release. It's wrong, right? It's not going to screw the dog up when you make mistakes. Just try to go back to your normal patterns. Good. And I'm going to go all the way around with just my hand. Nope. Yes. Good boy. Good. And then implementing yes, which he doesn't understand yet, but he will with time. Nope. Yes, good boy, good, yep, you boy, good. And see how we kind of ended that with a crescendo? Yep, good. So we ask him something, he does good at it, nope, nope. Gotta let him settle down a little bit. And if it doesn't work and you're not getting what you want out of something, like I'm not getting what I want out of this, you break, yep. And you go back to your patterns, you come back to it again in a bit. Or you don't use it that day and you come back tomorrow. Good. Good. Now I'm going to try to go back to my good pattern. Look at him. Look at him. Good. 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 Notice him looking on the ground for that food. Nope. So when you get to a point where he's not being compliant, he's not getting into it, you break and go to something else, come back to it, right? Good. And think of patterns of 2s and 3s with what I'm doing here. Good. And now it's time to get a break. Yep. Good boy. Good. Ended on a high point, and that would be the end of my session. To be honest with you, remember, keep things short and sweet, and you'll do a lot better. Good boy. You go over too long, the dog gets bored, and they stop being receptive to learning. Because now you got a whole nother process. The bored brain wants to go everywhere, right? Good. Nope. 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 Good. 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 That's my boy. And now break. Good boy. So I think we had a successful session right now, and it's all based on where I wanted to end it. So we conveyed the good marker. I will come back, I will mix things up, and I'll use that as my primary for a few days as far as what I'm trying to convey to the dog, which is that good marker, until I build on that. And then I know that's in there, right? That's in the tool bag that I can come back to later. It's all about how you mix things up and how you put these pieces together to build the stuff, okay? And I hope my face is on the screen, but it may not be. I don't have anybody filming me today. So that's it with Turk, and I'm gonna get the other two puppies out and you'll miss that. They're different puppies, they act differently. So have a good day, we'll talk to you later, bye-bye.